Today, me and Otto decided to test every single style within the Kittl AI art generator. And we did this because you might be signed up to Kittl but have a limited amount of credits. So rather than having to test every one of the styles, you can just refer back to this video and know which one might work best for you. We're going to do this with 2 example prompts and going through every single style, including the image styles, Clipart styles, vector styles, and pattern styles as well. Let me know at the end of the video which one is your favorite. You can name multiple as well that you're going to use within your print on demand workflow. If you're new to Kittl, there will be a link in the description to sign up to it. And in order to access the AI art generator and create designs with it, you need to head over to New Project in the top right corner. Then you will want to select the dimensions for your project file. And there is some POD presets as well over here. So if you're designing t-shirts like me, you can just use the Merge by Amazon preset. Just click on it and hit Create. And now on the left-hand side at the bottom, you can find the Kittl AI generator, and there's a few different settings. So you've got the prompt section at the top, so enter your prompt here, select an aspect ratio. By default it is 1:1, which is the one I typically use. You can decide whether the images are public or not, and then you have all of these image styles. There is a bunch of them at the top. These are kind of better for either posters or maybe stock images if you want to sell those. Clipart, this is probably the most interesting for t-shirt designs. There's a bunch of different ones: watercolor, cartoon, mascot, t-shirt graphic. We'll go over all of these in a little bit. And then we've got vector styles, also quite good for print on demand because all of these styles create actual vector format, and then you can affect the colors of them afterwards and scale them to any size. And at the bottom we've got patterns as well. But without further ado, I'll now jump into a project file which has 2 prompts with all of these styles pre-configured. So here's a quick overview or glance at the document that we're going to walk through. The prompts that I used are a creepy looking pirate ship at sunset and a cheerful strawberry wearing tiny sunglasses and flip-flops holding a surfboard under its arm. We will start off with the pirate ship, walking through image styles, Clipart styles, and then the vector and pattern styles. And we'll do, I think, 3 images at a time to compare them. So here we've got photography, digital art, and anime. Clearly the styles are quite different, or the result is quite different for each of these styles. Photography, if I zoom in a bit, has a lot of detail. There's some blur background, like a depth of field effect going on. It does look a little bit like a video game to me and not real life photography, but definitely a very distinct style. Digital art looks like you would expect. Very vibrant colors right here. The ship is not necessarily accurate, but I only ran each of these prompts once for each style. I didn't try and get the best image. It was just about getting a feeling for what this style looks like. So yeah, vector art kind of feel with very vibrant colors right here. And anime does definitely look a lot like anime, at least in my opinion. And then we move on to the next set. So acrylic, a synthwave, and psychedelic, all very, very vibrant, almost a little bit similar, but you can clearly see the differences. If you zoom in, acrylic right here has this kind of paintbrush effect, and with synthwave it does look a lot more digital. The sunset looks quite cool in a synthwave format, and then psychedelic, we've got a lot of wavy stuff. The skull also looks very sort of trippy. So it is similar at first glance, but if we look closely, there are some clear differences in the style. So there we go, that is the second set. Now looking at art deco, oil painting, and retro photo. These 2 on the right look fairly similar at first glance, but art deco is very, very different to all of the styles we've had so far. Very simplistic, not many colors, many sort of geometric shapes, definitely an interesting style to say the least. Oil painting, if zoomed in, yeah, that does look a lot like an oil painting. Very, very cool indeed. Might be good for if you want to sell digital posters or actual physical posters. And then retro photo, if we zoom in, yeah, has this grainy effect, like a texture, a bit of a frame as well right here. Looks very worn and definitely vintage. So I like those styles. Let's look at them all together. There we go. There you've got all of them at one glance. Some more basic, some more artistic, and others very, very vibrant and colorful. And to be honest, I did quite like the oil painting style out of this lot. I think it was probably my personal favorite. Let me know which one was yours down below. And then we move on to Clipart styles. Let's start at the top with watercolor, t-shirt graphic, detailed drawing. Now, these are very interesting for t-shirt design and what I would mostly use if I was creating t-shirts with Kittl. Now, watercolor is a bit of a difficult one in my opinion, because it's usually difficult to remove the background, and also the style itself I think is not that applicable to POD. These sort of paint splashes, etc. It's not that attractive on a t-shirt, at least in my opinion, and you don't see too many of them selling either. T-shirt graphic is perfect if you're creating t-shirt designs because it's very dialed in to what we need. They often have very sort of optimized shapes, easy to remove backgrounds, and the style itself is the sort of vector art, flat 2D style. Looks really, really cool. And I think in this case, it also turned out great for the pirate ship. Like, this is definitely graphic that I could see working on a t-shirt. Detailed drawing, also similar, not to be underestimated. At first sight, like, I wouldn't really think to try out detailed drawing, but I think that result almost looks better than the t-shirt graphic, at least in this test. It is slightly different if we look at the style or the feel of it, but it is fairly similar at the same time. I can't really describe it. This is a bit smoother. This has a lot more lines right here. But yeah, both look great in my opinion. I just think also with the skull right here, this looks a bit cooler. But nevertheless, out of this row, watercolor definitely loses in my opinion, at least when it comes to how applicable it is to print on demand. Next set of styles is cartoon, mascot, and kawaii. All fairly similar, but there is definitely differences. If we look on the left, cartoon has got quite a clear outline, which is great, and it has a neat sort of round shape, a lot of glow effects right here. Mascot is similar in the layout, but you can see it's more of a focus on an actual person. Mascot always tries to give you a mascot, a character, which it did kind of struggle with right here because the prompt wasn't really ideal for a mascot. It didn't ask for a pirate, it asked for a pirate ship. So it didn't turn out great, but you can see clearly that there is differences in the result in terms of what we get as the main or primary subject. And then kawaii is typically more of a cute thing with like big eyes. I don't know why the mouth looks sad right here. Maybe that's because of the creepy keyword, I don't know. But you can see that in general, it's a lot more simplistic and flat, whereas over here we have more details. This is definitely the sort of thing you would want to use if you're creating designs for animals, for example, or maybe fruit, right, to certain types of foods, sushi, stuff like that. That's where kawaii can be really handy, maybe even do better than cartoon and mascot. But in this case, with this prompt, it just doesn't really work. And then the last three styles right here, pencil drawing, nursery art, and pixel art, all very different. A pencil drawing is quite cool because it is just black and white, and it is pretty detailed, but this is an image, it's not a vector. So yeah, I mean, if that's sort of the style you're after, a bit more of a vintage feel, black and white, simple, well, not simple, but simple color scheme, but complex sort of drawing, then this is a cool one to try out. Nursery art is very sort of cute-ish again, but it has a lot more detail than that kawaii result had, as you can see we zoom in. So if you're aiming your designs at kids, testing out nursery art as a style is definitely worth it. Pixel art, really, really cool. It has this sort of retro feel. Everything is made up of big pixels. It's definitely going to be great for some print-on-demand niches where that retro style does well. If you combine it with the right fonts, this is a great one to test out. And here we've got the overview of the Clipart styles. I think this specific test, what do I like best? I do really like the result for detailed drawing and the cartoon as well. I'm not sure which one is my absolute favorite, but those two definitely stand out, at least in my opinion, for this specific prompt. Moving on to the vector styles, these are a little bit different because they all turn out black and they don't have a background. So if I change the background color right here to red, you're going to see, there we go, there's no white in this graphic. It's literally just a black pirate ship. And you can also click on these and then change the color of the object very easily, which is in the nature of vectors. You can edit them more easily than photos. The set that we're looking at is vector art, vintage drawing, and line art, all very different in terms of the simplicity. It's like line art, definitely the most simple, then it's vector art, has some more details, and vintage drawing is extremely detailed. Zooming in on vector art, I think this could definitely work well on a t-shirt, and like a one color type t-shirt with some text added to it. It looks quite cool. Vintage drawing, I'm not sure about it. It's maybe a bit too detailed for print on demand, but for certain like vintage retro designs, yeah, it might be applicable. And then line art is, you know, very, very simplistic. probably doesn't suit the pirate ship niche very well. But in some cases, you might want to try out line art as a style if the niche kind of works with that. Certain animals, I could imagine this working well with birds, for example. It really does depend on the niche, but it's probably not the most popular style in terms of sales for print on demand. Then we've got cartoon, silhouette, and emblem. And the cartoon one right here does have a bit of a childish feel to it, but in terms of the actual like aesthetic, it's very print on demand-esque and looks cool. Silhouette, the idea with this is to have more of a simple vector that can be used as a silhouette. For example, if you're overlaying your graphics onto vintage sunsets or onto an American flag, stuff like that. So it tries to keep the graphic as simple as possible, but still get across that it is a pirate ship. So you can kind of use it within your designs as an element in your design. Emblem, the idea with that is to kind of make it look almost like a logo, have more of a unified shape, a simplified shape, and again like a simplified version of what the prompt has. So the pirate ship, although it has some details, is definitely taken down to the basics, and in this case it did a great job of making it look more like a badge, like an emblem, like a logo. Moving on to the last three vector art styles, we've got anime vector, actually, coloring book, and street art. These are all more detailed but quite different. Anime, of course, has that typical anime character. It doesn't come across as well right here because it's lacking the colors, but you can get a sense for it in this result. Then we've got coloring book. Of course, this is handy if you want to sell on KDP, if you want to create coloring books, and then this style gives you more of an optimized result for that specifically. I don't do that, so I mean, I couldn't tell you if this is perfect, but you get a feel for it anyway. And street art is kind of more of a graffiti style where you have paint splashes right here and more of a texture within the actual vector, which is also pretty cool. I can see that working for print on demand on t-shirts and other applications. So looking at everything compared again, I think out of this lot, if I was designing a t-shirt, if it was for kids, I'd probably do the cartoon option right here. That is quite cool. If it was for adults, I'd go or lean towards the vector art result right here, or perhaps the street art version as well. Lastly, we have the pattern styles. There's only 4 of them, as you can see, so we'll go over them more quickly. We've got cute, wallpaper, artistic, and ink. Wallpaper and artistic look fairly similar, but these are obviously quite different. And I also noticed that the patterns do not repeat, so you can't extend them beyond what you see right here, and that's worth noting. Cute obviously has that cartoonish feel and more applicable to kids. Wallpaper is a lot more detailed. It's a little bit like vintage, retro-esque. And then artistic, I guess, goes a bit more like artsy and creative. Got a lot more like strange lines going on, a lot more details. But overall, like wallpaper and artistic is fairly similar, at least in this test. And ink is black and white. It definitely looks creepy for sure, and does turn out quite a different style to the other results. So let me know which one you like the best. I think I probably prefer the wallpaper option, although like this prompt is not really a great example for patterns, but I thought it was more important to get down the vector styles and the Clipart styles, because I'm guessing most of you watching are interested in creating traditional print on demand designs for t-shirts, etc., and where I think this prompt is a good example because it has this sort of vintage sunset look applied to it. But there we go. That is the first prompt for the creepy pirate ship, and let me know which one of these you would use in your designs. Moving on to the strawberry holding a surfboard and wearing flip-flops. I'll be a bit quicker comparing these now, but essentially the image styles turned out amazing. Photography is clearly very detailed, almost looks realistic. Digital art is kind of like a 3D cartoon. It looks very childish in its nature, and anime is more of a tuned down version of that, whereas more of a flat depth, flat color scheme, but also looks neat. Then we have acrylic, synthwave, and psychedelic, all very vibrant colors again, like the last time with the pirate ship, but clearly there are some differences. Acrylic has lots of different colors, more details, looks a bit more three-dimensional, whereas synthwave is more flat and has less colors. It's just a bit of pink, green, and blue. That's basically it. Then we've got psychedelic, which is again very, very colorful and very bright, saturated colors, and the background looks amazing right here. Yeah, quite like that style, to be honest. Then Art Deco, very, very artsy, lots of geometric shapes, and we have a bit of a sort of half-tone shadow effect as well in these, which looks amazing. Then we have oil painting, which, yeah, looks neat. It doesn't look as much like an oil painting as the pirate ship did, but still, it does definitely go into that direction. And retro photo has kind of like faded colors right here. Definitely looks neat, and it has a subtle texture effect as well, which probably doesn't come across in the video, but it does look sort of retro vintage for sure. Looking at all these side by side, obviously it massively depends on what you want to use them for. Out of this lot, I think the psychedelic style looks pretty cool, as well as the retro photo. Moving on to the Clipart styles, these are all great examples for print-on-demand applications, t-shirt design, because you can kind of get similar results for lots of different items of food, for animals and other topics as well. So to begin with, we've got watercolor, t-shirt graphic, and detailed drawing. The t-shirt graphic is best, in my opinion. It has that bold outline. It's got a simple, flat color scheme. It looks amazing and very applicable to t-shirts. In my opinion, detailed drawing is quite three-dimensional right here and very detailed. In this case, I wouldn't really use this on a shirt. I think the result for the pirate ship looked a lot better here. And watercolor is decent, it's not bad. I don't like the paint splashes, which you do get with watercolor styles typically, but the graphic itself and the style turned out neat. Then we have cartoon, mascot, and kawaii icon. Cartoon, again, kind of a lot more three-dimensional. Looks a little bit like a TV show animation, so not as applicable to POD. Mascot and kawaii, definitely could see these working. And mascot has got a bit of a messed up hand right here, but the style, right, it's about the style itself, not the accuracy in this case. The style is amazing for print on demand, similar to t-shirt graphic, but still slightly different. Then we have kawaii icon, more simplified version, a bit more cute, a bit more child friendly, and a very popular print on demand style. Down here we have pencil drawing, nursery art, and pixel art. Pencil drawing, a lot more detailed, black and white again. Nursery art is very cute, kids friendly, but it has more detail, but a cool looking style for sure. And pixel art also, I quite like this. There is an audience for people who like retro designs. It's not going to, resonate with everyone, but it's definitely a style worth testing. And let's get an overview of these. I think there's definitely quite a few styles right here that you could use within your t-shirt designs if you have similar types of niches. My favorites right here, probably the t-shirt graphic, the mascot, and the kawaii icon. Next up, the vector styles. Again, we've got vector art, vintage drawing, and line art showing different levels of complexity. Vintage drawing being very detailed with sort of a texture effect as well, or texture shading. Line art is extremely simplified, and vector art is somewhere in the middle. Then we have cartoon, silhouette, and emblem. I think all of these turned out pretty cool in terms of the style. Cartoon looks great. Silhouette, I could see that working if it didn't look so wonky with the arm. And emblem doesn't actually look like an emblem right here, but it's still definitely a usable style for POD. Then we have anime vector, coloring book, and street art as well. Slightly different results in all of them. Street art actually doesn't have too much in the way of like graffiti feel to it in this result. But anyway, here is the comparison. Some of these do look similar, but there are distinct differences between some of them. If I was to mess around with vector styles, I would mainly go for the silhouette as well as the cartoon style. Also, I have used the vintage drawing before in some cases where it is a bit more of a vintage t-shirt design. So there we go. That is a quick overview of the vector styles. Let's look at the pattern styles to end it off. We've got cute, again, very sort of childish, flat 2D vector look. We've got wallpaper, which is more detailed. And then artistic over here has got a bit of a different color scheme, lots of halftone effect, as you can see right here in the sunglasses and around the edge. So yeah, that looks quite cool to be honest. And then we have ink at the bottom as well, where the strawberry is wearing shorts for some reason, but again, black and white color scheme. Right, there we go. Those are the pattern styles. I think in this case, artistic turned out best. Again, let me know which one of these styles you liked the most in the comments down below. I think, again, for POD, mostly stick to Clipart styles and vector styles and find what works best for your niche based off this comparison. And just to quickly summarize, for print on demand, these were some of my favorite results in terms of the style. So for the strawberry, we have the mascot, t-shirt graphic, silhouette, and the vintage drawing. And for the pirate ship, the detailed drawing, cartoon, and vector art style. And once again, remember to let me know in the comments down below which was your favorite style out of this lot and which one you're going to use moving forward. If you want to learn more about Kittl, then make sure to check out this video next, where I show you a step-by-step process for creating t-shirt designs.